One of the most viewed review videos of the Goldens Cast Iron Kamado said that it may be the killer of ceramic Kamados. In fact, it perhaps is a better value than some of the leading brand ceramic cookers. I'm going to go over 3 reasons why, if you're in the market for a Kamado cooker, I might pass on the Goldens Cast Iron Kamado. Let's get into it. I'll expand on my 3 reasons, including price, most importantly, performance, as well as versatility a little bit later on. But before I do, this video is not for you if you already own a Goldens Cast Iron Kamado cooker. You happen to have an amazing timepiece, you're supporting a made in America family, and there's no arguing the unique and quality attributes of the Goldens Cast Iron Kamado. This video is made for people who are in the market looking to understand how this compares to others with more than just opinions, but some actual data. Now on that, I'm not sponsored by Goldens or any of their retailers or affiliates. I'd like to thank the team from Gospel Barbecue for providing this grill to me at the end of 2023 so I could do this video and make possible to give it away. I'll cover how to do that a little bit later on. I also do not receive a commission from anybody. What you buy, it impacts me 0 financially. I've also discovered that products tell you a little bit more about who they are over a couple months, and I try and aim for about a 6-month review, which is exactly what we've just crossed on the Goldens Cast Iron Kamado, as it paints a more complete picture than some of the euphoria and excitement that you have around recording content on unboxing weekend, when everything's new and shiny and you may be looking past some of those little usability gaps on a particular product. So now that we've got all the disclosures out of the way, let's peel back the onion and get into some of my 3 reasons as to why I might pass on the Goldens Cast Iron Kamado. So I brought along some notes to help keep the specs and prices clear. Makes editing later on much easier. So let's start first with a quick recap if you missed my unboxing and introduction video. So this, of course, as I said earlier, is made in the USA. It's a 20.5-inch size Kamado, which works out to about 330 square inches. So if I compare that to a large Big Green Egg or a classic Kamado Joe, which is in around 250, 260 square inches, it's a little bit larger than an 18-inch grill, but it's a fair bit smaller than a 24-inch size like an XL Big Green Egg or the Kamado Joe Big Joe, which are 450 square inches. It's got some great features, including a Tell True thermometer. I recently just did my Weber Summit review, and if you compare a Tell True thermometer to the bimetal gauge that you find on most Webers, this is a welcome change in terms of having a quality dome temperature gauge. It's made from cast iron inside and out, and it's got a powder coated weather finish, which has, as you can tell, been standing up to the elements just fine. One of my favorite features is you see often online, where as they would loosen, you open your dome and your dome smashes on the ground. Not only is this cast iron, it's not near as brittle as something like ceramic would be if it was to suffer some blunt force trauma and fall onto the ground. And it's also way less likely to happen because there are no bands here. This is an integrated assembly, so there's no bands. This is just cast iron attached to a handle that's attached to the pivot point at the back with the spring assist, which means we don't have any maintenance to do ever in terms of checking the tightness of our bands. It's also got a single piece cast iron firebox, and sticking with the cast iron theme, that's also our heat deflector plate as well as our stackable grid. So these are reversible to get a little bit lower if we want to do something like a sear, a little bit higher to get a little extra clearance from our fire. And if you have a second set like I do, thanks to the team from Goldens who sent those to me after my first low and slow cook, and I wanted to try double indirect and get a little bit more performance out of this cooker, you can stack those on top of one another until you run out of clearance in dome height inside of the grill. Now, in terms of price, the model that I have outside of the standalone model with no cart is the most affordable option. So this model right here starts at $25.99. If you start to add a couple things that you want, like I mentioned, the diffuser plate as well as the tool to be able to remove some of these heavier than average accessories, including the grid lift tool, the divider plate, and the second set of grids in order to be able to get something like a double indirect. Without those, it's $38.58. With those, it's another $100 at $39.58. $58 and $97. So that brings us into price. So if I call the workable solution with side shelves, you need places to set those hot grids, particularly these cast iron ones. They're heavy, they're dripping grease from whatever you're cooking. You don't want to set it on your patio stones. So for today's reference, I'm going to call the workable solution, including all of that gear, at $3,958. If I start to compare, not just within the Kamado category, but where does this sit in the bigger barbecue picture, it's very quick to realize the premium being associated with something like the Goldens Cast Iron Kamado. If I take something that has taken the internet by storm over the past year, the Goldie's Backyard Offset, that's $4,200. If I look at something like the Franklin Offset, everyone has heard or made a big deal about that. You say, James, that's $5,000. Was that $5,000? Includes delivery anywhere in the US and Hawaii. And so if you start to get a quote on moving something this size and nearly 500 pounds, it's pretty easy to eat up that $1,000 difference. Or if you want to save some money and look at something like my Lone Star Grill Santa Maria. So this is the 48-inch size Santa Maria, but their starting size is $1,400. And this is handmade 3/8 steel on the bottom upgrade, and these start at $1,400, and they're handmade and welded in Texas, USA. And so it becomes pretty apparent very quickly that this is not only on the upper end of the price spectrum in the Kamado space, but it is competing against grills offering way more capacity and the full offset smoker experience for around the same money. If we come back into the Kamado category and say, I'm not interested in an offset, or I'm not interested in a Santa Maria, there's an equal price comparison here that under most circumstances is double any competitive product. So if I start with one of the Kamados that I bought, my Big Joe Series 1, that's $11.99 US. So I can have over 3 of those for one of these. And this is just not a Kamado Joe comparison. If I put up the price for Big Green Egg, the Weber Summit S6, which I've also just completed a year-long review of, or something that I've just started a review on like the Primo XL 400, all of these leading grills are roughly half of the price of the Goldens Cast Iron Kamado. And so despite being nearly half the price for all those XL models, those are the XL models offering over 100 square inches of space more than what the Goldens provides. The price picture gets even scarier if we drop down into the large green egg or the Kamado Joe classic size at 18 inches, where starting at $7.99, you can get a Kamado Joe Classic Series 1. So we are nearly 5 of those for one of these. And so when I hear people like Greg from Ballistic Barbecue in their review say that this grill may just be the end of the ceramic category, in fact, he went on to say, I have it here, that this might be a better bang for your buck or better value versus top Kamado brands. I just don't understand how mathematically you get there. That makes absolute no sense. And if you start to take this is well made and it'll last a lifetime, or it's a heirloom piece that you can pass down from generation to generation, there is no argument from me that not only is this cool, it's exceptionally well made. But if you read the terms and the conditions on the warranty, this is non-transferable. So I can't put this in my will, leave it to my kids, and they can show up and get warranty support. So this has the same lifetime warranty on the outer cast iron components, just like Big Green Egg, Kamado Joe, and Primo all have lifetime warranties to the original purchaser with proof of purchase on the ceramic components. And so this review, I think, is a fair length at a little bit over a half year. I'm not gonna wait around a lifetime to find out how any of these play out. But if we look factually at the warranty and the price, I just don't see how a sentence of better value, better bang for your buck, and the Goldens Cast Iron Kamado belong in the same sentence. Next, let's cover performance. And this is ultimately why I think you invest in a grill. And so Greg in his review cited that he'd been running now at 27 hours in his brisket video, and the temperature dropped down to about 150 degrees, but it was able to maintain a low and slow temperature for over a day. And there's no argument from me on this being an efficient cooker, but that's actually one of my criticisms. In my brisket cook, if I show you the starting charcoal versus the ending amount of charcoal, this is an incredibly efficient cooker. And if you're coming from something like a Weber kettle or any non-insulated grill where the sun comes out or a cool breeze comes in and your temperatures are up and down 100 degrees, the island that is Kamado style cookers, which are incredibly stable and efficient. In fact, I've even tested my Kamado Joes summer and winter, and the vent settings are practically identical. And so the Goldens Cast Iron Kamado is incredibly efficient. Almost, I would say, in fact, I'll say it, efficient to a fault. Efficiency isn't the friend of great barbecue results. In fact, efficiency is not even what we're really after here. Efficiency is a byproduct of either two different ways of achieving that efficiency. So there's insulation. So I'm located in the north. Let's go back a couple months into winter. If I want to go outside and stay warm, I have two choices for that. I could go for insulation, so throw on a nice winter coat that's lightweight. It allows me to move around, and it still keeps me nice and warm. A Kamado in this category that does that is something like the Weber Summit that I've just recently reviewed, which has a dual-walled insulated design. It keeps the weight way down compared to other Kamados, but still helps drive an incredibly efficient grill in terms of its charcoal consumption. The other way of doing this is thermal mass. So if we imagine a hot tub outside that's heated to 100 degrees Fahrenheit, no matter what the ambient temperature is, we could be below freezing. If we place ourselves in that large thermal mass, it is not only going to keep us warm, but the power could go off and it's going to stay warm for hours, if not days, because of the thermal mass that is retaining the energy. And the thermal mass concept is a little bit more about what the Goldens Cast Iron Kamado is going with here. So at 460 pounds as mine sits, this is not only a very heavy, but it's a thermal mass driven achievement in terms of how it is driving for that low charcoal burn and consumption. And so while I didn't intend for it to be a head-to-head, it just happened by chance. The day that I recorded my brisket on the Goldens Cast Iron Kamado, I was doing my other video, a brisket on the Masterbuilt Auto Ignite 545, and tasting those within half an hour of one another, I could not believe the taste difference. So I invited Sarah, my wife, out for a blind taste test. And I'll just take you back. I'll show you a really short clip here of the result. But again, this is someone who knows nothing about either brisket, of two briskets cooked the exact same time on two different grills.
Okay. So right off the bat, I like the depth of flavor better on the one on my right.
What do you like about it?
The flavor, okay, so normally I don't like a ton of smoke, like everyone knows this. But
Vein of my existence.
In this situation, it really adds to the flavor. Like, it's not too much. It's a really nice depth of flavor. Yeah, it's like it's adding an extra element to it. And the bark I liked on this one as well on the right. It just was nice. It had a good texture and the flavor was yummy. I would say between the two, I like the one on the right better.
And so while for Sarah and I, the Goldens Cast Iron Kamado brisket wasn't competitive to other Kamado briskets where I'm able to throw a few more hacks, whether it be an ash drawer to load in wood chips and wood chunks or my double indirect setup, I'm able to burn a cleaner, hotter fire. This definitely wasn't competitive versus a grill that you can get for around $500 US. But I recognize taste is subjective. What I like, what Sarah likes may not be what you like. In fact, put 100 people in a room, ask them how they take their coffee, and you are not going to get consensus. So let's leave the opinion here on performance and move into some more real data. And so when we took a more data-driven comparison between something like the Goldens Cast Iron Kamado, the Weber Summit, the Primo XL, and the Kamado Joe, sad to say, the results weren't amazing. I saw what we observed, which is the metal cast iron deflector plate absorbs a lot of energy. And so you see this conductive energy being transferred into the water. So I measured the water temperature in each of the grills to see how much energy is coming from below. This is where I noticed I was starting to get some burning on things like brisket or pulled pork or any other long, low, slow cook, including ribs. There's a lot of conductive energy from this cast iron plate. You can see that in the infrared data. as well as the temperature data where the water temps were higher on this grill than some competing brands. The next thing that I was looking for in that performance comparison was something like evaporative cooling. So this is what helps drive a great bark. A very humid environment that's not moving a lot of convection airflow because there's barely a fire going on there wouldn't do something like evaporate the water, which is what we would want to do if we were getting a brisket and trying to get an amazing looking bark. That's why something like my Smoke North Echo offset smoker does such an amazing job at the bark. It's moving a ton of air and wicking away some of that moisture in something like our brisket and helping it shrink down to its size, develop an amazing bark. And this was on the low end of the competitive scale, so sort of fighting back and forth with the Weber Summit, which is also a metal heat deflector plate inside of a metal cooking vessel. And so taste test aside, the facts here on evaporative cooling, conductive energy transfer, and overall convection airflow don't paint a picture of any performance advantage for going with a cast iron form factor Kamado. So finally, third is versatility. So if you're willing to look past price, and the price is so severe, again, you could buy a Big Joe Series 1 and a Lone Star offset smoker for just about $200 more than owning a single one of these. And if you're willing to look past the performance, whether it's subjective and things like the taste test, where it's not, in my opinion, competitive with my best of Kamado style cooks, or where the data on infrared evaporative cooling and conductive energy transfer have this ranked on the lower end of the top Kamado brand, let's get into the straw then that may or may not for you break the camel's back, which is versatility. There are things that are just exponentially and unnecessarily harder about everyday tasks that make the Goldens Cast Iron Kamado more difficult to use than other competing Kamados. And so that could be demonstrated in a few ways. First, ash removal. So this immediately took me back, 15 years when I had a big green egg and I was trying to sort of get an ash tool and remove that into the ash pan. Kamado Joe, when they came to market, included an ash removal system that makes that much easier to remove the ash. Weber includes their rapid fire damper and one-touch ash system to remove the ash. This is much more difficult in something like the Goldens Cast Iron Kamado because the accessibility down below that one-piece firebox means that some of my favorite accessories, like the Kick Ash can, which, oh, by the way, is available on all top Kamado brands, Big Green Egg, Primo, Kamado Joe, where I have them installed on now all of my Kamados. This is just one touch, remove all your ash, it's gone. There's nothing in behind your firebox. You can't do that on the Goldens Cast Iron Kamado because the firebox is one piece. Then there's the versatility of everyday cooking. So whether you have Primo, Big Green Egg, or Kamado Joe, they all feature rack systems with two-zone cooking. And that is a real thing. I've recorded data of up to 100 degrees Fahrenheit difference in a two-zone configuration on something like my Kamado Joe Classic Series 3 at the time that I did that video. That is not near as easy to do in something like the Goldens Cast Iron Kamado. Since we have a fire basket divider, which allows us to put the coal all on one side, our heat deflector plate is one piece. So we cannot do simple things like start to reverse sear a steak on one side where there's no heat below that and then move to a quick sear. And so cooks where you want to be changing gears and doing normal Kamado things are much more difficult in the Goldens Cast Iron Kamado. Speaking of being more difficult, the accessories also weigh a lot more. And so removing the grids with the special tool, which, oh, by the way, I've dropped those more than I care to admit. And it is not fun having a heavy hot grate covered in grease fall on your feet or on your patio if you're lucky enough to avoid having it hit you. Of course, if you had the model with the side shelves, you'd be a little bit less prone to dropping them on the patio and your feet than I would. But since I don't have that accessory, getting these grids out and moving them around, regardless if you have the storage space, is much more difficult than the half moon accessories that all the leading Kamado brands offer. And speaking of accessories, That's one of the reasons to own a Kamado in the first place. Is a Kamado, a dedicated offset smoker or a Santa Maria grill or a pizza oven? No, it's not best of breed in any one of those categories, but I challenge you to find a grill category that can do all of those things and do a remarkably good job, whether it be pizza, steak, brisket, ribs. If you can only have one grill in your backyard, I think the Kamado form factor does a little bit of everything better than anything else in the market, which is why I often use they're the SUV of the barbecue space. They're not a sports car, they're not a pickup truck, but they do a little bit of many things well enough, just like SUVs do, which is why they're the best-selling vehicle in North America. But when I look at accessories, all the top Kamado brands have pizza options, rotisserie options, half moons, and different cooking surfaces that open up even more versatility so that you can own one grill and do more things. Outside of the gear needed to make the Goldens Cast Iron Kamado functional at its unique 20.5-inch size, Goldens doesn't offer these accessories, and the third-party ecosystem that exists for other grills is non-existent for this form factor, and so you are significantly restricted in terms of the types of third-party accessories and or OEM accessories for the Goldens Cast Iron Kamado, which further reduce its versatility in terms of being able to be that ultimate jack of all trades. So there's a few more things that didn't fit into my 3 categories, but a couple other things that you should be aware about if you're considering the Goldens Cast Iron cooker. The first one is rust. Rust inside and out. I'll move the camera around. I'll show you on the patio where I previously moved it, and we're moving it right now. It's happened where some water somehow gets inside these metal arms and rust builds up and then drops out and leaves rust deposits all over your patio. So that is not something I am super thrilled about. Speaking of moving it around, well, it has awesome looking wheels that are large size that make it easy to move. It also has 2 very small casters, and the minute you get off of perfectly smooth pavement or patio stones, if you had to cross a small grassy area, those casters dig in and you cannot move this at all. So the large wheels are almost completely useless in this situation unless you're able to tip it up onto its side and carry it. But I'll remind you, at 460 pounds, once that starts to go one way, it's really going that way. So this is a 2 or 3 person job to move it around on anything other than a perfectly flat surface. On a flat surface, no problem. One person, even with a push, the 460 pounds disappears fairly easily with these size wheels. So as we reach the end of the review here, I love that we live in a world where products like this exist. Is it well made? Absolutely. Is it a talking piece that you could have friends over and kind of ooh and ah about? No doubt. Does it offer value and or performance benefits versus any of the top leading Kamado brands like Greg from his Ballistic Barbecue review suggested? I'm just gonna let the facts speak for themselves and not add any more conjecture or opinions to this, because I think the facts are clear that this does not move the bar further into enhanced Kamado form factor grilling and smoking experiences. And so while this may not make financial sense and it may not objectively do better in terms of any quantifiable Kamado style test that we can throw at it, and while it might be more difficult to use than every other competing brand in terms of the versatility and usability in everyday life, it's still a Kamado, and I can't help but love a little bit about it. It is, as I said earlier, an exceptionally well-made product by awesome people. The support from the team, as well as their retailers like Gospel Barbecue, which provided this to me. If you have a chance at the end of the video to go give them a follow on Instagram or a shout out, support like theirs helps make reviews and videos like this possible. And if you want to give your own try at the Goldens Cast Iron Kamado without forking over nearly $4,000 to do it, I'll be giving this away. So to enter, all you need to do is go to my website at smokingdadbarbecue.com and sign up for the newsletter. Everybody who signs up will get a free copy of my temperature guide, But you'll also be entered to win the Goldens Cast Iron Kamado. Once I pass 5,000 subscribers on the newsletter, I checked this morning, we're at 3,800, so 1,200 to go is when I'll do that draw. Reach out to one lucky person, and the Goldens Cast Iron Kamado could be sitting in your backyard. And so, well, today I wish I had better news for the team at Goldens. Might feel like some tough love. I've tried to keep opinions out of this and just stick to the facts. And I hope the facts are useful if you find yourself in the market looking for a Kamado in 2024. No one would judge or blame if you choose to pick this up. It is, again, an exceptionally well-made grill by a really cool business and a family that's been making cast iron products for generations. But is it the best Kamado money can buy in 2024? I don't think so. That's it for today. I'm James from Smokin' Dad Barbecue signing off. Remember, don't be afraid to fire it up.